Manager for the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, also known as LARC, which represents 19 community colleges across the Los Angeles region. I also have the pleasure of co-leading the LARC AI Task Force with Chair and Assistant Vice President Dr. Narnay McKeegan. Today's AI professional development session, optimizing educational workflows with AI, a process design, is made possible through our partnership with the Los Angeles County Office of Education, also known as LACO, and the coordination and vision of LARC's AI Task Force. Leading today's session is Eduvator's Technical Director, Dr. Raina Walsinger, and Managing Director, Marcy Drummond, who are ready to help you identify inefficiencies, implement AI-driven solutions, save time, improve outcomes, and so much more with AI-supported process design. You'll find today's professional development session and more in the LARC AI Learning Library, and we'll be sure to drop that link in the chat. And with that, I turn it over to Eduvators to get today's professional development started.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Judy. It's great to see you. Dr. McKeegan, thank you so much. And Kevin for all your support. So I'm Dr. Raina Walsinger. I'm here with Marcy Drummond, and we're really excited to be here today. This is one of our favorite subjects that's changing quickly in workflows. If you've been following AI news in 2026, if you even just Google workflows, you'll see tons of apps coming out with workflows. And where I teach, we already have, I think they're still testing it because I just found out by accident, but we have Google EDU on board. And so I think that's coming to all of us working at our community colleges. And so we'll be even showing some of that today. So with that, let me share my slides. Let's see. Yep, I can do that. Okay. Along the way, this is going to be interactive. So let's see. There we go. So you're going to have a lot of chance to do your own workflows during the session. And if you have certain workflows that you want to try or you're interested in certain things, just put them in the chat so we can include them. We've been doing this things with workflows and coding and in different areas for the last, well, I've been doing it for the last about 5 years. So excited to show you guys that. And with that, let me let Marcy introduce herself and before we move on.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Happy to be joining you today and appreciate LARC providing this opportunity. And the only thing I would add is to the opening is that not only are these new tools coming out, but all the AI tools we've been using extensively, like ChatGPT and Microsoft Office and Google, you used to have to go from tool to tool to accomplish a task. Now they have embedded multiple tools like image generation, video generation, so you don't have to leave. So workflows are becoming much more simple, and you can finish an entire workflow using just one tool now. So when we first envisioned this workshop, we actually had, now use this tool for this, and now move that file over here and use this tool to create the image. And now you no longer have to do that. So it's really about just instructing AI how to complete an entire task from A to B that has multiple steps. So it's much easier now. And so we're really, really excited to show you what they can do.
Perfect. All right. Click there. Okay. So what is a workflow? It's different than just our regular prompt. So it's actually, you can chart out like your process, like you can do in any like leadership structure or process for like enrollment management or like scheduling classes. So it's a repeatable process that you can do over and over, and you set up the AI to do this for you. So while we're doing this introduction part before we get to the exercises, think about things that you do that are repetitive that take several steps. I know one for me when I was a chair was a big one was classroom management. Who was teaching what, where, and when, and then also coordinate that with the college. So or even getting new classes together in Canvas or creating new processes for healthcare for part-time faculty. I mean, almost anything. So, so in education, we have a lot of these that we spend time in, kind of a lot of time on the computer. And that's kind of how you know, like, are you sitting there on Excel and Word, like kind of doing things over and over where there might be something that could be more automated. So the workflows it's basically your own program set up to do it. Now, this is an interesting concept because we've relied on EdTech until now to give us these, and we still do. But some of the stuff that we do is, personal to the way we like to work. It could even be the way emails go out or anything, and so you can set up your own. So without workflows, so we have one-off, like, sitting at usually Microsoft, because that's what we're using, doing things. You have changes in results. You might not include the equity pieces, and accountability could be changing. And then with your workflows, because you're setting up all the processes, it's going to be repeatable. And that's kind of the big thing. But you have to have the most important element of human oversight over what's going into this data and your output. So that, and everything that I've read, that's like the key element is somebody has to be checking these things. And this is an important one, even in the development of AI. The companies themselves are using AI workflows to update their own AI models. But then when they release some of them to the public, you've seen OpenAI do it. Sometimes they backtrack and they're like, they didn't have enough human oversight to catch problems with them. And they're doing malicious things like Grok does that, which is why we don't use that too much in education. So creativity is a system, this is the exciting thing. I just did a talk with K-12 teachers, and interesting bringing arts teachers together with computer science. Usually they don't do workshops together, but now it's becoming kind of one thing. So the computer science people are teaching coding, and the arts people are teaching visual outputs, and then now they go together. Now, how do you get people to think on both ends of these things and not in silos? So you have all your input, which is more technical and structured, iteration, which is really creative, and then your output, which is kind of like a creative technical look. Are there problems with it? Is the output looking good? And that skill on the output is new for workers and students, because now you have to be on the technical and the visual side of things. So AI ready task, what things take longest in your life and feel repetitive? Again, if you're keystroking a lot of things all the time, those are the ones that you want to try to create a workflow for. Where do you start from a blank page? I don't start from blank pages anymore because we have now AI partners, and so you can always get ideas. And one of the things that is kind of going away, you don't hear the word as much, as roadblocks. So when you have a roadblock, you can just ask, hey, I've got a roadblock on starting this thing, give me some ideas. And so that's one of the things that's changing. Pulling together information from different places. Every single workflow or language learning model has it's either a paper clip or a plus sign, so you can pull data and information from almost anywhere, OneDrive, Google Drive, your desktop, almost anything. That's really important in the workflows, is where your file organization. It's a big one, and you'll see why when we show the workflows. And then what would benefit from a alternative perspective. Anything on that, Marcy? I can keep going.
No, I'm just putting in the chat about
Oh.
how also some tools have features that you can load multiple files into and work with them at the same time and synthesize them, integrate them, summarize them. So I'm putting that in the chat.
Okay. Because I want to make this interactive, after this, I'm going to show like a quick example and then I'll move on. So, the creative literacy, and this is an area that I've been working with in my entire career. So, as some of you know, like I've kind of sit between industry and teaching my whole entire career. So, to use, and I'm a biomedical engineer, so to create iterative design, ethical judgment, and visual thinking, that's like how I was actually trained in college, because creating medical devices to be not harmful, and that was actually very challenging to do. So in that, I'm just gonna, because I want this to be interactive, I'm gonna switch my screen for a minute and just show you a couple, what a workflow kind of looks like. just so you can see like the back end of workflows. So this is one I created called Suno Prompt Maestro. So what it is, I create a lot of albums, and so I realized using AI, I wanted my voice and my instruments, but my prompts weren't that great. So I created a workflow using, this is a piece of Gemini that you can create a workflow in, but this is the back end. So this is what we're talking about. What are all the inputs from the user? So it's going to ask the user these questions that I identified when I programmed this in my workflow. And then Suno is going to give certain outputs, and it's showing like what all the steps are here. And then here's what it does. And so this is the back end editor. So user input, generation, output, assets. So it can get data from any of the things, uploading files from your desktop, like I said, or any other place, YouTube's, anything like that. The front end of workflows usually look like something like this. So once I do this, I'll be describe your style. So, and we'll do this together, maybe not in Opal, but so you can see each step of the workflow. It's asking me this in just an interface, but I already told it, made this little workflow. So every time I do this thing, it's going to be repeatable. So instruments to use, so let me do that really fast, and I'll show you how awesome this is. Key, any tempo. So then it's going to go through that workflow based on the user inputs. And this is what you would do. And then it's going to give me an output that's going to be a prompt. So I'm going to get repeatable, creative prompts, because this is what I built this tool to do, to use in another application where I'm creating music. Takes about, it should be about done. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so there we go. So I've got inside of my music app, I've got now instrumentation, and it gives me moods, a better prompt that I could probably write, that I could at least decide if I want to use it or change it. And it gives me alternatives as well. So I can use this tool forever to create prompts for my Suno app where I create music. So that's a really good illustration of what a workflow looks like. It looks like every workflow I ever did in graduate school, but now it's back here that they automatically put it together for you based on what you're trying to accomplish. Let me stop there for a second, see if there's any questions, because that's a big concept on these workflows, different than what we're used to with language learning models. Any questions or ideas on what you might want to be doing workflows for? Silence. I got an idea. If you have some, you can put them in the chat. So I'm going to put one for myself. Canvas modules. So I can create a workflow to say, my modules are these 6 things every week. Create those for me in a Canvas format that I can import in there for 18 weeks, and then I can fill in my pages. I could put one in there that says, this is my college syllabus. Update it with the new dates every semester. I'm going to put in the dates and you fix it, and then send me my Word document and my PDF. So those are a couple of ones that I like. So think about that. All right. My internet's a little bit slow. There we go. And it didn't go where it was, but that's okay. There we are. Okay. So we're here on this part. So this is, I wanted to show you that in the software, what it looks like on the back end. And Google, I think it's opal.google or google.opal is, I think, a good example. Zapier's another one, but Google's kind of automating that for us. And it works in, I think, the pro accounts, but we can do something similar in Gemini. So this is what you need to kind of think about the core stages of the workflow. So this slide's probably the most important. Defining your task. What are the inputs that you need from the user, which could be yourself, could be people on your team, could be your department team. Um, for example, if you're doing class scheduling and you have a department meeting and everybody wants to give you like their times when they're on campus or whatever, great time, or the types of equipment they need in their classroom. And then from there, then do your prompt and model use and your output that you want to do. Then you need a piece in there where it's a human decision so you can iterate on that and then run it through again. So it's not going to be like this is the perfect output every time. Like you got to look at it and go, okay, this is okay, but I want to change X, Y, and Z. So this slide's pretty important.
Raina, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I recently was talking to a professor who is kind of deep in this world of AI, and he was saying that some of his students were exclaiming, they're like, "Oh, Professor so and so, like you're so awesome. You're always communicating with me. You're always reaching out." But he said it's automated. Like he set up a whole workflow so that he plugged all that communication in touch points with his students as reminders and this, that, and the other. Would that be an example of a workflow process such as we're talking about this morning?
It is. I have an opinion about that. You guys know me, like I'm a touchy-feely, like emotional type of professor. So for me, I choose to do my announcements and then fix them with these workflows and then put them in there. What I don't do, so that's just fixing, updating my you know better explanations of things that are announcements. But students on discussions, like for a professor, that's where the RSI is important. Like we're engaging with the students, understanding what they're learning, what their questions are. So on the discussions, that's all me. So I think announcements and those kind of things are good. But for RSI, for accreditation, is the faculty are it's our responsibility to interact with the students, and that's what that's all about. So in my opinion, that should be, and this is like where those gray areas are. My opinion is that should be done by you. And it's not hard because you can do Canvas and discussions all even on your phone. So you can even dictate them in there like, hey, that was a cool discussion and thing that what did you think about? So yes, you can automate it, but those are those ethical areas that we need to keep talking about as a system. So that's my opinion. It might differ from other people's, but I hope it does. And that's actually the whole entire fun part of our job is on the faculty side is getting to know your students and like helping them progress, right? That's like the whole heart of the job. So I like if it was that part was automated, then like for me that would be a much less fulfilling career. Any other comments on that? I think that's a really great point, Judy, about whether those are automated things or not, or whether they should be. Oh, hearing none. Okay.
Comment that
Yes.
yes, we need to agree with, we need to meet our students because I get a lot of students who ask me for recommendation letters. So if we don't get in touch with them, if we don't know, their personality, how are we gonna know, that we're gonna write the right what is recommendation letters for them and I usually even ask them for their activities. What do you like? Because it's important for them to know, and even also for them to know. Let's say if they're going to get a job, I wanted to know what their skills so that I can give them a very good recommendation of how they can start building, let's say, experience so that I always tell the students do not wait until you graduate to start looking for a job because then it's going to be very disappointing. So I always push them to start looking earlier so that they know that they can have some experience before they get a job. And yes, the one way is by knowing them personally. even though we are online teachers, I feel that I have a lot of connections with my students by reaching out one by one. That's
Beautiful. I feel the same way. I mean, I have so much fun doing it. I mean, I don't know why I would not want to be communicate with them. And sometimes students in this age of technology have a lot more questions than they used to. I don't know if you noticed that. And so, we're here to help them individually with those as well. So that's what our online office hours or whatever opportunities they have to communicate with us are about. So yeah, so Judy, yes, you can, but then there's that, definitely ethical piece on where
Yeah,
on
it
your
was
particular job
just
you
for
want to do that.
some
Yeah.
of those
Yeah.
non-relationship, repetitive
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Like announcements, Zoom meetings, reminders, things like that, for sure. And actually, even moving content from your old paid books into Canvas and things like that, where you're doing workflows of, and modules that we do now. And actually, even just factual quizzes, not essay type stuff, but there's a lot of things, opportunities where you can do workflows for that. Like if you're always making a 10 question end of the module review with multiple choice on the thing, you can feed all your stuff into there and just have it do it 18 different things for a semester. Those are if they're factual. If they're more than that, then we do them manually. But that's a great point. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to bring that up because it's a good topic. So put a little few perspectives on here. There's different focuses depending on your work group. And so for educators, we're worried about kind of the way that we teach and a lot of, and I want to bring something up on here. I have not even this last week, I've seen more complaining from even in the K-12 world parents on academic integrity whose kids were called out for cheating and then they're saying they weren't. But it's getting to be a major, major problem for teachers, students, and parents. So we're in this world right now where we haven't figured out how to fix this and where the truth lies and how much AI people can use and all that. Just bring it up. It's a big issue right now. Institutionally focused, policy alignments, risk management, equity and access, of course, and institutional considerations. So those are, depending on your work group, what type of workflows that you want to do. All right, so we're going to get into types of workflows. And then we're going to do some exercises with you guys. So conversational cognitive workflow, put a thing here. So it's a step-by-step guided through conversation, supports lesson designs and assignments. This is what I was talking about. It follows clear phases and AI guides each stage. So this would be good for creating assignments or even module elements for teaching. It would also be good for creating workflows for repeatable things like classrooms assignments and like technology in classrooms, things like that. So repeatable prompt-based workflows. These are reusable prompts with consistent results like I showed in that exercise in the beginning that I did. It's so that you get like consistent results every time. And these are really good for non-technical users. So once you have your workflow, you just answer the questions and it gives you consistent answers. These are file and document based workflows. These are great for things like in HR, could be different accessibility documentation, even for your college. Rubrics throughout. So anything where you need to input stuff. So if you're inputting like your policies and procedures, board policies, uh, things where you need a lot of input. And for teachers, it would of course be your course materials. And they're safe in the two things we have that are safe now, Microsoft 365. So our OneDrive stays within our environments and it doesn't go training on that or sending it to other people. So that we can protect our curriculum and what we're creating or our policies within the institutions. And coming in now, rolling out is a Google EDU. Those are also our personal environments. Google doesn't train on it and it doesn't share it. So we'll have a second environment where we have a safe place to store documents and share them within that environment. So both Google EDU and Google EDU is FERPA compliant. I don't know if I got a letter from one of the districts and it's all FERPA compliant. It does, because it's FERPA compliant, it changes some of the things from Google Pro because it doesn't let you share in and out. So it behaves a little bit more like Microsoft. And I had an IT professional look at my Google EDU, and it turns out that it is programmed in conjunction with Microsoft on the back end. And even that workflow you saw is like Microsoft. So they're definitely sharing technology behind the scenes that are similar between them now. Do you want to talk about this one, Marcy?
Yes. So, in later in the workshop, we're going to talk about automating workflows, but there are tools now where you can start to automate these it's called lightweight automation, where it'll start to work through it, and you can identify in your workflow when it should stop and ask for input. So that's the identify human versus AI decision points. So you can have points where it stops. It allows human decision points. And then regardless of what tool you use, you have to always review what the output is. So it may be correct, it may not. You may need to iterate and that sort of thing. And then the last thing, and I do this all the time, is once you have a workflow that you want to use over and over again, create a standard operating procedure or a playbook so that because it'll likely be a month before you use it again. You'll be like, okay, where is that? I can't remember where I saved that. What were my steps? So I always stop at that point and create some sort of a playbook. Also, it's great that you can share that with others, especially like for faculty, if you're creating some workflows that you think other faculty can benefit from, then all you have to do is create your playbook and share that with them.
Yeah, it makes it much easier to edit it later. So it's like, oh, what inputs did we have? And oh, we missed these, and then let's add these. And everyone will have good ideas, and then you can edit them from there. And luckily, it saves everything, so easy to edit these workflows. Okay, so here's an example I did, and I'm gonna have everybody, I think, do this at this point so we can do some interactive stuff. So I created in Gemini a repeatable AI-aware discussion board rubric. And I described what I wanted it to do, and I asked it some questions, and then this is what we came up with together. Now I could go back and do one for a specific subject or like a CTE area, for example. I can do this for even things within a department, like writing things for Academic Senate or getting program review ready. So this is the first example. And so why don't we, because we have a lot of samples later on, but why don't we just take a minute? And if you guys could open Gemini, I'm going to go and add a Gemini screen on mine. Does everybody here have a version of Gemini? So this is my Gemini Pro. The only difference on the EDU one, actually I could open my EDU one. So we have these tools in Gemini Pro, and with our EDU address, we can have this free for a year. So that's why I have it, have my students got it. But now we're rolling out EDU. The only difference is we're not creating videos here, and that's fine. And then the difference here, because of the FERPA, is we'll be able to upload files and add from Google Drive, but we will not be adding these other photos or importing code. And that's fine as well, because we still have Canvas and other ways to do that. Google Notebook LM, we have it in the EDU, it's under settings. And so that will be located on the bottom left. So it's pretty great. We're all going to have this from the chancellor's office. I already have it. And so what I would like you to do is, if you can open Gemini, if you don't have Gemini yet and you're using something else, is create a rubric for an area that you're doing, and then ask it to create, save that so you can change it for different topics. And so that would be like a workflow that you're creating. I'm going to stop my share and do it offline here while you guys are doing it, and we can talk about how this works.
Rena, I hope I'm
Yeah.
saying your name correctly. So when you say create a rubric, you're asking us to ask Gemini to create a rubric for a discussion rubric, uh, just, just
Yeah, you
that,
can do
or do
yeah, you
we
can do a
need to-
discussion rubric or a rubric for a process that you do on your job. I thought a discussion rubric was like something I do a lot, so I use that. It
Yeah,
could
well,
be an
that's
assignment.
easy. That's easy for me. It doesn't require me to do a lot of thinking here, but right now. But when you say to create it, we have in Canvas, I typically use the Canvas templates for rubrics. Uh, so I've never used Gemini to create a rubric. So
Right.
so if I do that, if I ask it to create a rubric, I give it some information, and that's all you want me to do.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah. Then we can compare if you like that versus the way we do it in Canvas as well.
Okay. All right.
If somebody even might want to put in a sample prompt that they used, it might be kind of
I will put one.
interesting. Or Raina, maybe.
Okay, I'll do that. Um, So I noticed a couple things for me, as far as iteration, like in my first prompt, I probably should have said how many points is each category worth? It's like, or what's the scale? Is it like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or is it like 0 to 100 or whatever? And how many columns I want. So once you see it and you're like, oh, it's okay, but I don't like it, then that's when you go back and do it again. So you can actually create a workflow for just creating prompts for creating rubrics based on when you get a good one. Oh, awesome. Oh, neat.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, we are. What do you think
I
of
didn't, I
what it
didn't,
can?
I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to copy it.
That's perfect.
Didn't
No,
check.
it's actually better because they're
Okay.
so big.
Yeah.
Like this is actually better. That's great. What do you think?
Um,
Things this way.
this is using Gemini, and it's great.
And you can sometimes in Canvas, there's a little copy thing on the bottom. sometimes that works good. And then it'll ask you on the accessibility stuff to fix your rows and all that sometimes. And then other times, if you just highlight it all and copy it, it comes out. It doesn't come out right in Canvas, just for me anyways.
Yeah.
Ooh, sweet project. Nice. So that's another one, Judy, for a process like creating evaluations. You can make, like I did in Opal, you can make a tool to just input all of that stuff and output for you based on the forms that you have to do. So you can make it repeatable, and some of the stuff in the language will be the same and some will be different. So
So can you set up the automations for what we're creating then through Gemini?
yes, and in Gemini and in coming up in Opal. So, and we can do actually in Microsoft 365 too. So, and then in Canvas. So this is the advanced section compared to, oh, Bonnie, let me answer your question on Gemini. So I don't have a preferred platform in general. I'm using Gemini because they just came out with Opal with workflows, and it seems to work really well. But you can use almost any of them to do this type of work. Microsoft 365 has workflows now in the enterprise version, but I don't think the EDU version that'll probably roll into it. But you can even make all workflows that they're coming out with is things that you can do in what's called Canvas. You can program these things. So if I went to Gemini and did this by hand, go into my Gemini and do a new chat. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do this anyways. So in Canvas, I can make a custom workflow from here, and I can just code it. Like I can say, based on my document I uploaded for a new program or whatever, like maybe a program review or a new thing, like Judy was just saying, like a sweep grant or something like that. Here, look at that, and then make a tool where I can fill that out and have it optimized and make sure it's accessible. And then the tool will be like Judy's super cool AI tool for sweep projects, and then it'll ask the questions from the form, and then you fill those out. So it'll make it consistent, and then it'll create, like you can say, create 5 versions of it based on these criteria. So that's what Canvas is going to do. So if I create a quick one, like create a tool to just do something really quick to pick between 2 classrooms based on equipment for, I spelled that wrong, CTE course. Trying to do something short. So it'll create this workflow, and then I can use this over and over again. So it'll be like, what's the classroom? What's the class called? What's the equipment in there? And then it'll give me like priorities. And so that's how you create these. And what's nice in Google that's different, I think in all of them, it has the easiest sharing protocol because it shares the same way as Google Drive. You can just share, and then you can share it to, see, here it is, to find, and I can change the colors and brand it and all that. So you can share just like Google Drive. You can share it and you can have the link to anybody, or you can restrict a link to people on your email or people in your workspace. So it made a little tool. I can't see it all because I'm on Zoom, but I see now. And then I can decide whether I want to iterate on it. That's pretty great. Like 30 seconds. Now this is a workflow in the background that I'm creating using Canvas in Google Gemini. And then I can share that. I can share it with, I have a link. I can share it in the EDU version. It gives you the option to share it in your work group or in your public work group, but not to the world at large. So, and then so then from there, you're like, oh, I left out like some kinds of equipment because now I'm doing welding or nursing, so I need to add a bunch of stuff. So you go and iterate on that. And then you make great tools. You can put all the equipment in all your CTE programs in there on a spreadsheet and say, look at this spreadsheet based on the program and the equipment and make this tool. So that is and now I've got a repeatable workflow for CTE Classroom Matchmaker. So I just tried to do a short one so it wouldn't take forever, but you can see how amazing a workflow tool can be. Questions on that? So you can do this on any of them. I think they all have the easiest ones, I think, are Gemini is probably the easiest for me to share, but you can do it in Microsoft 365, ChatGPT, Claude, almost anything. But ChatGPT doesn't share, and it's also not private within our institution. So I would say for us, we should be using Gemini EDU when we get it and Microsoft 365. Okay. Any questions on all of that? All right, let me go back to where I was then. Okay, here's a second example put together for AI and accessibility checklist. I did this in Gemini. So these are some tools that you could do. So citation tracking is one that I love. So verify AI generated sources. Alt text generation. So in fact, Marcy, I should have you talk about this because you do this a lot, all three of these.
Yeah. So I just put in the chat that typically if your institution has provided you with a license like to Gemini or Microsoft 365 Copilot, they've already done the enterprise data protection for you. In Microsoft, actually, when you open it, there's a green badge that you can see in the upper corner, and that tells you that data protection is on. But it's really important if you're whenever you're downloading a file and uploading it into a tool that is not provided by your institution, chances are that data is not protected. So always, just like with anything, don't use student ID numbers or any information that shouldn't be public. Citation tracking. I usually in my prompt, I always ask for citations. Some tools are now giving you citations automatically, like Perplexity does, but I always ask for the citations. And then one of my favorite tricks is I'll pull it into another tool and ask it to fact check the citations. So, so that's really important that you ask for not only the sources, but specifically ask for the links because it could give you the source name, but not the link to it. And then alt text generation, it's even beyond that. I use AI tools all the time to make something accessible. So you can upload that into either Gemini is perfect for this if you're using images. Just upload the image and say, can you create an alt text for this? Or upload an entire file and say, can you give me another document that's made accessible, including alt text, correct headings for tables and things like that. So now they know. So they've been trained on accessibility. So you don't even have to specify, make the tables. Just say, make this document, make an accessible version of this document, and it'll do that for you. So that's one of my favorite workflows. I do that all the time. Even, now, if you're using Word, it has accessibility built in, but it didn't years ago. So if I'm using an older file, I can upload that and ask it to recreate it and make an accessible one.
I know you made an accessibility workflow before for
I did.
Yeah.
I had to. I made an actual assess. This is the great thing about these AI tools is that 6 months ago they didn't know when you use the word accessibility with AI, it thinks people giving people it's user friendly, right? Or available to the public. That's how it defines the word accessible. But now, if you say I'm an educator and make this accessible, it now knows what we mean when we say accessibility, that it has to be formatted a certain way. So the whole workflow I built a long time ago isn't even necessary anymore because these AI tools are evolving and now they know what that means.
It reminds me in all of my settings for my different things I use, I always tell it who I am and that I'm an educator and what I'm interested in and how I want it to respond. And then that it also ensures that and it does when it responds to me. It said, as an educator and creator, blah, 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 blah. So it gives me those responses in that format. Okay. So here's a reference guide that is in part of this PowerPoint, and we have it for different work groups, but some example prompts for syllabus refresh and a study guide, a lecture to a podcast, doing deep research and visual aids. So you can try all these out in any of the tools, and the tools that we use are on the left, and those are the ones that that our institutions are all using. So, and then just as a side note, Nano Banana is part of Gemini. It's the image generator. It's still the best one in the world, and other apps are mostly using Nano Banana as their image generator. And Gemini, so Gemini is part of Google. Nano Banana is part of Google. Notebook LM is part of Google as well. So that whole world that we have here is mostly Google. Now, Claude is made by Anthropic, and they do really nice coding. And so you see the words Claude Code all over the internet because it's doing amazing things with code. Then there's ChatGPT. So any questions about this? We thought maybe you could enjoy some of these there. And you can see like these would require you to put something in your connected drive. So whether it's OneDrive or Google Drive or whatever you're using, it should be kind of one of those two, unless it's coming off your desktop as far as doing these prompts, because those are the main tools we're using in education. Here's a bunch of prompts that we have for administrators or professional staff. And so these are fun. So inbox triage, that's a great one. I know, like for all the deans I work for, it's like impossible for them to get to our emails. Meeting minutes, cleaning data, it's a big one. Survey analysis, workflow automation. So you can see like these workflows, you can set them up like the workflow automation. Every Friday at 3, scan my invoices, extract the vendor name and total, log it in my department budget spreadsheet. So that's a workflow that it would take you several steps to do, and you can just have it do it automatically. So
Rena,
Yeah.
that's the part I'm having a little bit of a disconnect. So we can design these workflows, but integrating them into the apps. So what is that step for then the workflow doing what you've asked it to do?
So let's do one like that. Marcy, should we do it in Microsoft 365 since we have it all connected to our email?
Sure. If you want to show them a different tool other than Gemini.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go into my Microsoft. Actually, they have a new thing, but it's still rolling out called Workflows. It does it as well. But I could go into Copilot here, and it's connected to Outlook and OneDrive and Calendar and everything else. So I can create a consistent thing here and save it as well. So, and then I can also even do visual things and create a workflow with to create flyers. We did this with another college about like their football team creating flyers in there. So both of those. So this is this is like, it is disconnected in a way, and that's why they're making this workflows one where you can tell it to do those things. Like here's some, and it'll just create that workflow for you. And that's everybody's problem. So you're asking like the exact right question. Right now, the way they have it is I would say it's an agent. So if I was going to do this, I could build it here, and we all have agents, and then it'll be like, okay, so if I want to create maybe weekly email help, and then it'll be, whoop, guess I have to pick one of these. They have all these different ones. Oh, by the way, yeah, they have ones that everybody already created and to do things over and over and again like that. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, it's just like this. Let's do a weekly project update. So every Monday morning, review everything in SharePoint and make a project update. And then it'll connect to my data and it'll do this planning and it'll make this app. So it's in the background, it's just going to make something that you can use every week over and over. So this, let's see, I don't know how long that's going to take. It's setting up a workflow plan. It's triggering events. So it's doing the same thing that Gemini was doing. And Marcy, without workflows, I know you've been doing these manually, one at a time in the just Microsoft 365. Do you have a good example? Or do you want me to come up with one?
I'm sorry, a good example of a workflow?
Yeah, in Microsoft or in any of them.
One of my favorite things is that because I lose track of my emails, I'll create a workflow that's every Friday that says I ask it to do a couple of things. And basically what we're showing you, I put in the chat window, is you're just giving AI an instruction as what you want it to do in that chat box. That's what a workflow is. So what I do, my workflow for every Friday, as I said, look in my inbox. Now, there's one thing I want to show you about Microsoft while she's in there. See at the top where
You
it
want it?
says,
Oh, do you
no,
want me
go
to show
back.
mine? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
that
Okay.
way we can save
Okay.
time.
Yeah. So I'm
See
just
at the
gonna check.
top where it says welcome, how I can help you, and right above that it says work or web. When you're clicked on work, it's accessing all your work applications and files. So you don't need to tell it where to look in your, like in Outlook, or where to look in OneDrive if you've saved files in OneDrive. It knows it's going to look everywhere it should look. So I tell it on Fridays, look at my emails. What are there any pressing ones where people ask me to respond that I haven't responded to? And or I can say, maybe I lost track of Rena emails me all the time. Maybe I could say, gosh, can you find all the emails from Rena? Find a pressing one that I haven't responded to, that I need to respond to within, and it'll find them. The other thing I do on Fridays, another workflow, is I say, create my to-do list for next week. And look at my emails, look at because we keep things in OneNote, and it'll start to create a to-do list for things it knows I haven't accomplished this week. So that's a beautiful thing about using Microsoft Office 365 to do workflows, is it accesses all your files and all the applications. So
Yeah. And once you do this, it'll save that chat and you can keep doing it over and over. So whatever that is. And then it will, I'm pretty sure, because this is in beta, so we don't see it yet in the EDU accounts, but the workflows is going to be, it changes it into an app format so that you can just open that app and answer the questions. Like it'll already say, I'm your weekly email reminder tool, and you just answer the questions in there and it'll create your output. So that's the 2026 thing, workflows that's rolling out. So yeah, if we did this, that's why Google and Gemini EDU and Microsoft 365 for us in education are great because it does stay within one of those environments.
a recent example is we were having all these discussions both in our meetings and via email as to how we were going to update our ChatGPT classes. And I lost track of where we were because we had so many emails going back and forth and we had so many discussions. And so I just asked in this box, I said, can you tell me where we landed? Have we finished this? Are there any outstanding decisions? What's next? Who's supposed to do what? And it created this beautiful, here's where you are. This is what's still to be decided. And then here's the tasks that are outstanding by person. It was wonderful. And it looked in multiple places to create that for me.
I'm just curious if I just ask it to create an agent, if it'll just kind of do it. Because, yeah, so yeah. So you can actually just tell it to make an agent and let's see. Yeah. So then you can summarize, categorize. So this is why, because it gives it to you in that kind of that answer response. Like you're asking questions, it's asking questions, and then you have to talk to it and get answers. So that's why so many people do this. But to make it repeatable, the workflow thing that's coming out will make it into a tool instead of just a conversation. So right now, this is how you would do it: is you'd have your question, and then you'd have to be like, so like summarize unread emails, and let's let it flow through the OneDrive and do all that in Copilot. So there it's going to go summarizing a bunch of emails and telling me all the dates and whatever all. So you still get the same response, but you're kind of manually, what I'd call having a manual workflow at the moment. And that's fine. So it'll go through and do everything that I needed to do. Did that answer your question? We're going to do some more of these, so.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. But this is super cool. This is like way cooler because it makes that little app for you. So that's what we're getting. I think all of the LLMs will have workflow functions sometime, probably by the middle of this year, I imagine. And sorry, I keep going back to the beginning. It's how Microsoft works. Okay, so we left off here. So the other examples we have are for leadership. So some prompts for policy, for grant drafting, and for speech writing. So the grant one is very popular now because, as you know, grants are a lot of work, both in industry and in education. And so you can create a type of like a folder for each grant with the right inputs, and then use your grant drafting workflow to give you the responses that you can paste in there. So it'll give it or the other way to manually do it, of course, is asking the questions one by one, or putting the entire grant into your drive that you're connected, either your OneDrive or your Google Drive, depending on the tool that you're using. And then you'd have to have another folder of inputs that you want it to refer to, and then let it run. So it's making grant writing easier. I don't know if you guys are experiencing that, but that's what we see in industry and education for sure. Okay, so responsible AI checklist. You have to make sure that you're iterating with all of these workflows, that it's not doing a bias. So you have to kind of test it out. As Marcy said, fact check citations, and then make sure things are accessible, like alt text for images, depending on the type of workflow you're doing. So these are 3 things that you should always be doing with every workflow, depending on what you're outputting. So if you're outputting like one of my workflows I have is a weather generator. So it'll be in fact, I have it here. I think it is, yep, there it is. So I made a weather agent in Gemini. And so I had it, I'm just like, here's what I did. So right in Gemini, let's make an agent to give me daily weather where I live. And then it said it was going to generate my HTML, and it did all that. And then I had a problem. It didn't work. And so it fixed the JavaScript. So again, I'm not doing any coding. I'm just talking to it in English. I said, I want the map. Awesome. So now it has the map. So now I have, so that was my conversation. So now I've got this weather tool that I could share with anybody, and it goes through, and I have the map of all the map, and I can zoom in on there and do stuff, and then get the weather. And then this is my preview tool in my code. So by the way, in Google, it talks about an API key. So when you're using a tool that you don't have, like I don't have Google Maps, but Google has Google Maps, it asks you for an API key, which is a key that costs basically nothing unless millions of people are using it. But it's a key that ties to that other tool. It's just a piece of code saying, okay, I'm going to access Google Maps and put it in your little thing. And so now I can share this with anybody. My daily weather weather map thing, and so I lost my little thing there. I had to regenerate what I was doing. So that's, and all you have to do to share it again is you get a link and you can share it. And then the EDU, this looks different again. It's like within your work group. All right. Awesome, awesome. One day I'll figure out why this goes back to the beginning and doesn't end up where I want it to be. Okay. We were here somewhere. All right, great. Okay, so the rest of this is exercises for us to try together, you to try on your own, and we have a little bit of time to do all these. So, Marcy, do you want to talk about this one before we go through the prompts?
Sure. And here's a great example of the word accessibility again. And this time it means you have access to it. So all of these are cloud-based. So you don't have to save anything on your desktops. And that's the one thing that's wonderful about them is that all you have to do is click or save them in your up in your as a tab in your what's the word I'm looking for in your whatever web browser you use, and they're instantly available to you. And what we're showing is like, especially with Microsoft Office and Gemini, how they're integrated with your everyday software that you use. And we just showed you how it's integrated with Outlook and all the tools in Microsoft. Again, they're prompt driven. So you can subscribe to tools that automatically create rubrics for you or some of the things we're showing you. Yes, they're out there. But the beautiful thing about this is all you need to do is enter a prompt, which is give it instructions or ask the tool a question, and it'll create all the rubrics and everything for you. So it puts the power into your hands by just simply typing in a simple prompt. And you get to put it in your own words. Your prompt is your own words. Don't worry about, you've heard the term prompt engineering and there's the perfect prompt. There's no such thing. Just tell it what you're trying to accomplish, put it in your own words, and the AI tools will figure it out for you. So they're very fast and flexible and intuitive that way. And then they're more and more, they're designed to be for creativity. So they're giving you things that are now more visual and generative. When first they were text-based, so what you got was always a text description of something. Now they can these tools will generate like interactive applications for you or images or PowerPoint decks. And so they're becoming more and more designed for creativity besides just being text-based, task-based.
I
So
love
they're really,
the podcasts and the videos out after your information, because those are, you don't even have to do anything. You just say make a podcast or make a video off of it.
yeah.
All
So,
right.
we used to see, a year ago, everybody'd say, here's all the AI tools you need in your toolbox, right? You need this and you need this, you need this. Now all you really need is Gemini or Microsoft Office or the ones we keep showing you because they now do everything.
Yeah, I want to mention the other two columns because those are what I use. So uh, the one that's the hardest if you're doing creative work is video generation, and because it takes the most computing power. So and I've said this before, the one that, because I create a lot of images and a lot of videos, and Midjourney for $8 a month lets me do as many as I want. I think the limit is like 1,000 or something. So that's the most generous, lowest priced thing out there that works really well. And you don't have to learn very much. There's just you create an image and then there's a button that says animate. So if you've seen my LinkedIn post, that's where I'm doing that work from Midjourney. And then Canva, all the K-12 teachers and students use that. So in all of our dual enrollment classes, that's where they're expecting to see videos, video editing, social media posts, YouTube thumbnails, and all that. So they come in already knowing that tool, and it's very AI infused, and it's also compliant with all of the things that we need in education. And then the other two are one, HeyGen is for creating avatars. You see those a lot in ads now and also on LinkedIn of talking avatars doing things. And then Runway is the other advanced video editor available. for audio and music, Suno kind of took over at the moment and being the one that you can create your own music and then master it in there. Um, for us musicians that use that professionally, that's how a lot of us are mastering music with instruments or maybe musicians that we didn't have in our studio to add into our own music. It's fantastic. And so that's why I created that prompt workflow for Suno. And then 11 Labs, it's a whole suite of things, anything related to text to audio. So if you have a whole lecture and then you wanted it to be spoken for you in 10 languages, you can generate that in 11 Labs. But the main ones that we're using are Google and Microsoft Cloud ChatGPT for most things that we're doing in education. Okay, so here's some of the workflows for that I do all the time. And these are pretty much changed the way that that I work. And I want to mention these. So, and I don't know if anybody here does music, but Logic Pro and Pro Tools is what we teach in the colleges. And then mastering and Suno is a new skill that we teach students and we do ourselves professionally. Presentations, some people still use PowerPoint. Some people just type in one of these other ones, create your presentations, and you can go through. It'll make a PDF or even a PowerPoint output. And then games, that's one I'm going to show you. I love actually Claude and Gemini for creating games, but there's another one that I use called Windsurf, and I'll explain that in website design. Enhanced learning. So let's say, like in an automotive class, you wanted students to learn they're working on electric vehicles, and you want to know the different areas where how far you have to be in electrical fire to be safe. You can actually make things to click and have it interact with what's going to happen in each of those areas instead of just reading about it. So really easy to create in Gemini and Claude. Website design, I'll show you that too. Gemini and Windsurf. Windsurf is a great workflow tool because you can add custom graphics and music and sound effects, fonts, anything into your designs in folders, and then image to video. So I have a lot of examples in those, but let's go through the exercises first. Want to do this one, Marcy?
Oh, so in the beginning, we had a slide that showed you the 8 steps you take to build a workflow, and it's in the handout, the workshop handout we gave you. That framework applies to all AI tools, except you may need to give it additional information. So for example, here in these, by the way, these what you see on this screen is also available in the reference guide. So like if you're wanting to create an image, you may need to upload a reference image, or like if you want it to have certain colors, you can upload a branding guide or decide the colors, or if you want it to be a particular style, you may need to upload the style guide. So basically the steps are the same, but what you upload, how you prompt, what you look for in the output varies a little bit. And then when you start to iterate with the ChatGPT to refine your output to get it the exact way that you want it, it's a little different if you're creating an image than if you're creating a video. And then Notebook LM is one of my favorite tools for developing curriculum. And so it works a little bit differently too. So what you're inputting, how you're prompting or giving it instructions is slightly different depending on the tool that you're using. And this is all in that reference guide. Pardon me, Marina?
That's why prompt engineering is tricky because it's based on these kind of the output, and you have to kind of work backwards about it. So one of my favorite tricks to all of this is looking at the galleries, because these end up being visual outputs, and you can see some beautiful work and then learn how to do a prompt from there. So I do that a lot. If I have time, I'll show
all of them give you a gallery of examples, and if you click on that example, you can see the prompt or the instructions that were used to create it.
Yeah, I do want to show that a second because it's so good and I love it so much. This is my favorite one. Adobe does a good job. Some of us have Adobe, but this is my favorite new thing in Midjourney. They give styles, and like I love these because I can go, wow, like so, I mean, art is personal, but you can go through it and you can even type a style. Like if I type faces, it'll give me things about faces, but it gives me these artist styles. And so if I can use these to start, and they have like a style reference number. So before, people were making websites with these numbers in it and trying to show what they were. And now I can just try a style like this, and then any prompt I make, it'll be within this style. So that's an example of a gallery that's super useful, and also it's super educational because you can see the difference in things that you can generate. And it's made images a lot better. So in my create page, like uh, I've got like just kind of cool stuff from all these styles. There's me rocking out at a big rock concert. So, and students love these as well because to be able to prompt and know those styles that's a lot more difficult. Adobe does a good job of that too, but even Microsoft has that under their create button, which is a new button, by the way. They have, like, if you create an image here, there's all the templates, and if you hover over them, it gives you actually the prompt. So and there's just hundreds and hundreds of these, depending on what you want to create, and you can do your own brand and color. So we have our brand in there. You can do infographics, videos, stories, like all this stuff. And it's all of those references are in there. So we've come a long way in a few months on styles. I love it. I did it again. So me and Microsoft. All right. So we left off here. This is just a quick example. So we're going to do some examples, but just in Midjourney, if you take an image again and animate it, you can make really great stuff. That's the workflow I use in there. So some examples. This is Claude mentioned does really nice UI, UX looking things, colors, accessible colors. And a lot of times when I do apps and other things, they come out like in grays and not accessible. I have to go back and tell it to fix it. So I made one that makes a workflow to make a prompt to help you edit a screenplay. And so that was done in Claude, and then I have an app, then I can use it over and over again, and it asks me to paste my script, and then which I could change that to look at my Google Drive called Scripts or something like that. And that's a workflow I made for that. This is one that I made in Firebase, which is part of Google. It's another place to make workflows in Firebase. You hook it up. I had it make a yoga plan for myself based on restorative yoga. Really easy. You just open it up and tell it what you want to do, and it makes this, and you can share it. I did this one already. I did a Suno AI prompt in Firebase as well to compare it to what I did in Gemini. This is an example of why workflows have changed. So I actually created this. This is a good illustration. So prompts on the left were like, there's just a box and you get a prompt and you get some music, and it's usually like not that great. But in the new workflow, like they're considering what we were doing, and what we were doing in music is making tracks and recording your voice and your instruments and all that, mixing it together and making a song. So now the new workflow completely changed into Suno Studio, which is a workflow where you can talk to the tracks with AI. Like, hey, I want the drums to be more this different kind of beat, or hey, I want the whole thing to be faster, or hey, fix my voice and retune it. So now it works like in the environment we're used to, but with AI assistance. So that's a huge workflow change in the music industry. And that's why the music industry is adopting this as a tool that we accept in that industry. Visuals. So this is actually a picture from Machu Picchu that my daughter took last month. And then you can in Midjourney, pick a style and then just tell it to animate those, and it just does it. So easy workflows there. Your input is just your picture, and then you tell it what you want it to do. So that's really easy to use. Windsurf. does anybody here use Windsurf? It's like one of my favorite things. I'm gonna just go into this for a second. I have, let's see, I guess the best way to show it, I have it actually here. So in Windsurf, you program, you talk to it and you say, hey, I want to make a new app. And what I made a game actually, and I want to use some characters, like I can make these any characters you want, and then I want to have some sound effects. And so what it lets, the other apps aren't as good yet as adding custom stuff to your workflow. So this one lets you add folders where you can stop my app. Let's stop all that. So that's my Adobe. So it lets you let me go here. It lets you make folders of custom things. So I might make a folder called music, graphics, sound effects, protocols, rules, and I say refer to this and then add those in there. Because if you say make a game and then it's not like my music or my sound effects or my characters or my graphics, then it's just like whatever game it did. So in workflow and dance workflows, I'm using an app called Windsurf, and educators get it for, I think it's like $6 or $7 a month. And it's another coding thing, just like Claude and all that, but it lets you create those extra folders of custom content that it refers to and brings it in. Google Gemini is getting there with adding more custom content into their apps. So pretty soon we'll just be able to do all that in Google Gemini. But last year we weren't able to do that. It's starting to get better now. Because that's like, it has to access your desktop or your drive where all that information is, and it's been really good at text. Hasn't been as good with graphics and music, but now it's getting there. So we're going to do an exercise down here. Okay. So yes, we're going to ask you to choose a task relevant to your role, and here's some examples, and then ask whatever one of those AIs on the left to create a first draft, and then we're going to have you do the second step. So you can choose one of these or something else, and then like I said, you can use ChatGPT or Gemini or Notebook LM, whatever you prefer, 365, and then we'll go to the next step. So I'm going to do this on mine as well. Okay, I'll do mine on my phone since I've got two screens. Okay. So hopefully, let me know if I'm going too fast. So here's an example that I did before. Output, student instructions, introduction to podcast audio quality. So I made a overview of the assignment. So part 2, now that you have your initial thing, I have mine on my phone. So add guardrails to improve your AI output. So you're going to iterate on it and improve something about it. It might be the tone it comes out in, or maybe change something for your audience. because sometimes it comes out to be either too complex or not complex enough. Add accessibility to that. So any of these things, and run it again and see what you get. I'm going to do that on mine. So you should get quite a different response. So here's a continuation of what I did. I did it actually better one today. So I redid the prompt and then it made it more kind of specific and then added the learning outcomes. But I just did one where I did microphone patterns and I asked it to make it more student friendly, and it made like all these really cool references to things in the lesson instead of it being so dry. So I like that. I said, how did I reprompt it? Anybody else get like really different results on the second one? Oh yeah, I said make it more fun for students. It came out really good. Okay, so here's where we get into kind of the workflow thing. So now you're going to create a prompt that other people could use over and over. So rewrite your prompt to include your clear task definition, the limits of the prompt. Tell it not to make up stuff. That's a good one. Tell it that you want your output to require your own review, and then run it again and see how that comes out. And that will be your approved prompt. So you're basically creating your workflow manually. That's what we're doing.
This is fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I've learned so much.
Workflows are the thing. If I had a banner on my new LinkedIn, it'd say workflows are 2026.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, that if you think about it, right? 'Cause now I'm teaching about robots and why their students ask me to teach robots. We're heading to this age where I think, or my son-in-law thinks it's all going to crash in 3 years, but at the moment we're heading to this thing where your free time, they're talking about like knitting and woodworking and cooking, like going back to like how I grew up, like doing actual stuff and not doing the things we've been doing in cubicles for, especially in industry, for the last 30 years or so. So these are kind of getting us back to being regular humans and not sitting in front of computers all day.
And I don't want to jump in with the closing before you guys are ready. So you just let me know. And
Okay, well, I'll just do 1 more minute. So, so then just to evaluate your judgment, is it accurate? If not, go fix your workflow. And then you got to decide, who's going to, someone should always be reviewing this stuff. So it's not just autopilot. And then document your workflow. We went over that before, but this is really important, especially right now while we're learning how to do this. And then sharing out. So design how these make your work easier. So we have some AI properties and principles in here, and some things on copyright. I know we're running out of time, but I'm going to leave you with this. If you can think about it, you can build it. What will you create? So we can create things that we make our lives easier and less time in front of computers. And so that's what this whole workflow thing is about. We're available whenever, if you're trying to create something and you're not sure like what tool to use or if it's working right or if it's not working or if there's new tools available like these in Microsoft 365, where it's creating these for you or you're doing it manually, or this like opal.google, where we're creating workflows now here and making these beautiful apps, and they're just so easy to use. Just let us know, email us. We're happy to help at any time. We're here for you guys, and so uh, feel free to email us whenever, and there's our email. So I will hand it to Judy, or Marcia, do you have anything last things before I do that?
No, what we showed you is like you're manually creating these workflows and you're part of the process of refining the output. There's these new tools. I just uploaded the guide by both Google and Microsoft to automate workflows for you. So these are sort of more advanced, like every Friday, look at my emails, respond to ones I haven't responded for me, things like that. So we uploaded a guide for you to do the automated ones. It's a much more advanced way of building workflows. And then also one caveat about these two tools, they're both in beta, meaning they're both haven't been fully launched. So they may change. So if you're learning to use them one way, they'll probably change before they make them more broadly available. But and sometimes they go away, like it didn't work. Like they launched a tool, didn't really work well, and it may go away. So when they're in beta, that's just the only caveat, is that you're experimenting along with the Google and Microsoft as they're building these, but they're very powerful and we've been using them. So we think they're going to be around to stay, but that is a risk.
Yeah, I can imagine an industry how they're using this for data. Every industry meeting I went to last year, they're already like relying on these things for all their analytics. So thanks, Judy.
Yes, and just to let all of you know, as a reminder, this session is recorded and it will be posted on the Lark AI Learning Library, which we've put a link in the chat. But also, as you've seen, they've been so kind as to share some of these additional attachments and resources. So when you do click on the YouTube video, you'll find any attachments that were shared in the presentation, also in the description of the video. So that's where you can find those. And it was really fun to get in there and try these things alongside all of you. And don't be afraid to just experiment and see, what the power of AI can do to help you and in your work. So our next section is January 30th, next Friday. Also, the link is there in the chat for you as well. We hope that you will share that, register, and attend as well. And with that, we will let you get on with your day so you can try all of these fun new things that you've learned. Thanks again, Marcy and Raina and everyone who's here with us today. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.